Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Balls Deep.
Welcome.
We are excited to join you on another adventure. And last episode was quite an adventure because our one of our mics broke partway through and we had to re-record the second half. But that's all part of the fun. Much like travel, nothing ever goes to plan. But I actually think that the revised version was even better than the original. So you lucky ducks, you got the best. You got a second draft, as opposed to the first thing that comes out of our head. Although actually we did kind of change directions from time to time, but it worked out for the best.
We did, yeah, but that's what we've learned is the more organic it's been. Yes, we have formats, but they are becoming looser and looser, and the more loose they're becoming, the more we sort of flow more, and it's just. Yeah, it just sounds better. And when we re-listen to it, it just sounds way better. It's way more interesting. So, yeah, it's going in the right direction.
Yes, moral of the story, be loose. So, we originally, on the original episode 8, Scott shared his massive achievement, which I'll let him fully intro in just a moment. But we didn't want to rush it because it's a big deal, and we're very excited to talk about it on the podcast. So I'm going to hand you over to Scott, and he can tell you all about it.
So this is the one place I don't mind talking about it freely, but it's funny because, the love that me and Shelby have for each other is it's amazing. And one way that Shelby shows her love for me is announcing to everyone we meet that I ran an ultra in Suo Oshima, and it's nice. I get it's I know it's a love thing, but I just I sort of crawl into the shadow in my head. Like I don't know. I'm not someone who shows off. I'm not someone who, and maybe it's not. I don't know, but I don't know. I just sort of just if things come up in conversation, something, then yeah, I'm going to talk about it. If we're talking about running and whatever. But I don't know, I just get all funny, and maybe that's more it is a personal thing to me, so I know it's all love, but anyway.
Because I'm so proud.
Exactly, and I know that's true. I just get a bit awkward and feel like I'm showing off, but that's why I don't like it. But here I shall show off. No, because you're on the journey with me, and it's mission to 100. Like I said, I've run for now probably is 10 years. I keep saying just under 10 years, but I think I am still just under 10 years. We're very close to 10 years. But yeah, it's mission to 100, which is 100 miles. And I ran I ran my longest one yet, which was 70 kilometers, which is 43 miles. But it actually ended up being 45, which I've actually noticed with both ultras now. They both went over. I think the last one was 2 miles over as well, so I don't like that because you plan in your head, and when you're in that last quarter, you feel everything. So an extra mile, or even just an extra 5 minutes, if you've not prepared yourself for it, you can get a bit stressful. So yeah, doing an extra full 2 miles, with hills, was a bit grindy. But we got through it. So, but I now know, I think with every ultra, I think they just compensate for safety. I think they put in some extra miles. So really it was 45. But yeah, it was great. So it was in Suo Oshima in Japan, not far from Hiroshima. Totally drivable. Really nice drive. Shelby drove the whole way. Yeah, it was a lovely drive. If you've been to Thailand, like down in Phuket, like to the Koh Samui, the Maya Beach.
Yeah, like the PP Islands, like all around Phuket. Yeah, all the like Koh Tao, Koh Samui, all the Koh Phi Phi, I think is like the, Maya Beach, whatever it's called, the beach, and James Bond Island, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, so those basically, if you've not been there, it's the screensaver on your laptop. And it looked like that, which we were really taken aback by because we didn't really have any expectations. So that was a really nice treat. That it felt like Thailand in a lot of ways. The only thing it didn't have is it was rainy for pretty much the entirety of it. So that part, the heat, it didn't have. But that was just the time we chose to go there. But yeah, if you're looking for a really relaxed, chill place, go to Suo Oshima. And when I say relaxed, I mean like so relaxed that all the shops are going to shut at 6 o'clock and the restaurants are going to shut at 8 o'clock. Then that relaxed. Super quiet. But anyway, getting back to the rum, no one spoke any English, so that was a fun addition. The one I did in Malaysia, most people spoke English, so it was pretty easy. But a lot of the competitors didn't, but a lot of the staff did. But here, just no one did. But luckily, on the aid stations, they seem to have put at least one person that spoke enough English, so that really helped. So that was quite amusing because we did a bit of there was like a pre-party to the run, which was the night before, which was quite hilarious because everyone was getting drunk. So that was really odd to see. There was one group that was just the last was smashed.
Well, that was the group that was on the table that we were on, wasn't it? Like they were so they were really really going ham for it. It was bizarre because it was just like open bar, wasn't it? Like you could go up and have as much booze as you wanted, and this group was making the most of it. But it's like buffet. They got, obviously not for us, but there was snails like in the center of the table. But one of my favorite things about that was because they didn't speak a word of it. Well, a couple of them spoke a few sentences. There was that one guy who had the sports shops, who I think he spoke the most English. But so he just, between gestures and whatever English they knew, because we couldn't get up Google Translate, there was no internet, and we know very limited Japanese, so it was just really wholesome and nice to be able to engage with people when we didn't speak the same language, but you were there for the same reason. You could communicate in a fashion. And then my favourite bit was the rock, paper, scissors, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, they really did welcome us in. The rock, and just to add, all the people getting drunk were running the next day. It wasn't like the staff; they were running either the 70k or 100k. So that's nuts. I didn't drink any alcohol. I'm so particular about what I'm putting in my body. That early. That close. But yeah, the rock paper scissors, they did this fun. It was, at first we didn't know what it was, but then it became apparent very quickly. It was basically everyone played rock paper scissors against the presenter. So they had a guy on the mic, so he stood at the front, and then everyone would put their arms in the air, and it also the cadence was different. Obviously, they didn't say rock paper scissors; they said they had a different chant for it. So you didn't. It was like we go rock paper scissors, whereas they shot on the second one. So as if you went rock paper, they shot on paper. So it was like that sort of was hard for us to get at first, so we kept doing it wrong. But anyway, basically, whatever the guy at the front, the presenter would have, if you showed your hand, your paper, it was right, you would have won. Therefore, you go to the next stage, and he just keeps going down until you get to the last few, and basically the last one gets a prize. And it was really good fun, and they had some pretty cool prizes like sake, and we didn't win any, but the nice gentleman to the side of us who we were chatting away to, again, when I say chatting away, was really loose, mainly through gestures. He actually donated one of the prizes he got, and it had like this really nice like jelly sweets. At first I just thought it was like jelly beans, but when I opened it up, it's like really nice. It's like orange jelly. It was really nice. But anyway, so lovely community, and again, that is so consistent with the running community. Like, if you're trying to figure out running, I'm a lone runner and I prefer it that way, but God, I get a lot of joy out of going to these competitions because it's just a bunch of people like me, and they're just so welcoming. Everyone's so kind. the running community to me is like the rock community. The rock and metal community, they look scary, but they're super kind. And the running the same, they're just super kind. So yeah, always a joy to be around them. But we got on with the run the next day. But wasn't as nervous actually for this one. I just felt locked in, which was good. And we shut off. It rained the entire day, which was annoying, but you just put it to the back of your head eventually. And yeah, I ran for 8 hours and 53 minutes, I believe. I might be a couple minutes wrong there, but 8 hours 53 minutes, the longest I've ever ran. And came, I think, probably in the top sort of. I haven't checked my ranking yet, but I mean, there was only about 30 or 40 people that had finished by then. It looked like anyway. So I think within the top 50 at least, which I'm happy about. Again, I don't do this to get into any accolade. I just do this simply to finish it. Like all I care about is finishing it. I don't care if someone's passing me. I just want to finish it. It's just a nice bonus if I go, oh shit, like I came pretty high. Like it's just an extra nice feeling for me. But so yeah, it was good. It was between mile 20 and 30. It was particularly gritty. I don't know why, but it just was. That was pretty tough. I think, I don't know. It just was particularly gritty between 20 and 30, where I had to dig deep. But then after 30, it was less. It was still hard, but the challenge was less the pain and more, God, this is taking long, which is a thing I've not faced before in running. I've never gone on a run and gone, oh God, I just want to be home now. Like I'm always like, yeah, love it, want to be out here for longer. It's the first time ever in my nearly 10 years of running where I was like, right, I just want this to be over now. And it wasn't because anything was going wrong. Like, yeah, your legs are killing you and everything, but when you've ran enough, you just put it to the back of your head. So it wasn't that. It wasn't that I was getting angry. It was just like, I'm fed up of running. Like, I just want to, to the point where I was like, right, I will carry on if I can just watch a movie at the same time. Like, I just wanted something to, entertain me. Yeah. And I know you might be saying, listen to a podcast, listen to an Audible, music. I've learned in ultras, I struggle with that, which is really interesting because I've listened to music all the way through my training for the last nearly 10 years. But for some reason, both ultras, having any audio in my ears has just not agreed with me. For a couple of hours of both, I have listened to stuff like an Audible, usually something that's, the tempo is the same. A bit of music, but usually just podcasts and audibles. But in the last quarter of the races, I think because I did ever think about this. I think what it is because you're dealing with so many things in that last quarter. I just think having a voice in your head is just another thing because you're so exhausted. You already can't, take much more. And even though you're not, your feet are killing you, your calves are, they're seizing up, they're cramping up, your knees aching, there's so many other things going on that I think just having that audio in your ear, I think it's just overload. I think it's just overload. And obviously you've got your mind you're competing with the whole time. You're dealing with the words that come into your mind and saying. So that's my assumption is I think it's just too busy in the mind later on. Therefore, adding that it's just like, I just can't deal with it. So interesting. But for other people, I know that's not the case, but for me it is. But anyway, I got it done. I was happy at the time. It was way faster than I planned, which was interesting because, I don't usually run that fast. Not the speed in which I did, but it felt great. So I just kept to it. I said, you know what? I've been running this speed for 2 hours now. It's felt great because I kept trying to slow myself down, but my legs just kept taking me faster. I was like, you know what? I feel good. Maybe that was the reason it was really gritty between 20 and 30. I'm not sure. But it felt good. But I feel like I've taken up way too much time on this. Shelby's shaking her head, so thank you. But yeah, it's the journey to 100. I very much enjoyed it. You might think I'm crazy for saying I'm being serious. I do enjoy it. I'm not hating, every minute of it. I'm enjoying, 95% of it. There's 5, maybe 10% of it where, it sucks. But, outside of those sucky moments, it's like, oh God, this is cool. It never gets old for me. And you have the location, which is stunning. Even with it raining, it's still, you see the sea. We ran around the sea the entire way, right around the island. All the people. Suo Oshima is really unique as an island because it's got a big Hawaiian heritage. So it's this unique culture of Japanese and Hawaiian. So everyone's like aloha, with the fingers. So yeah, it was a fun experience, and I felt great. So. And my Toblerone, so just to tell you, you'll probably see it in the video on A City I Love, our travel channel. You'll see me eat a Toblerone, which sounds a bit like it doesn't correlate with what I'm talking about. But I'm only allowing myself to eat a Toblerone. Oh, I just realised we've bought 3. I don't know what I'm going to do with those.
You've got to run 2 more ultras before you can have them, babe.
No, seriously, I do though.
Oh right. So are you actually not going to eat the other 2 Toblerones?
Well, I've only just realised this now.
Well, so what Scott has said is so he only has a Toblerone after he runs an ultra. That's like his new, ritual. Or
I'm a chocoholic, and when I say that, I'll give you an idea of the level. Every Sunday, I don't do this now because the doctor said you're going to have a heart attack if you don't stop. But every Sunday I would get a cake, and I mean a cake, eat that. I would then get, the £8 chocolate bar, like dairy chocolate bars, not the big bars, not those other bigger bars, the ones where it doesn't fit on the shelf. Like, the abnormally ginormous one you would eat over a month. I eat that, and then usually...
in one Sunday?
Yeah, and then maybe like a bag of Haribos. Yeah, and usually some alcohol. But I'm not an alcoholic, don't worry. Yeah.
Just a chocoholic.
It's because I'm a chocolate. So I just wanted to preface, this is what you're dealing with. I'm not that bad anymore, but I used to be, and it wasn't that long ago. Yeah. So I still have that level of drive for chocolate.
Well, and so decent vegan chocolate's really hard to find, and I got this really nice one that's I guess it's kind of like a Mars bar, but like a vegan version. And I'd left it at Scott's, thinking, oh, I'll have that next time I come. Did I have it next time I came, Scott?
No, Shelby leaves anything chocolate related. The thing is if anything, Shelby can't be mad because for me it's torture. If I know there's chocolate in the house and I know where it is, even if it's dark chocolate, which I'm not as fond of, if I know it and I don't have chocolate, I'm going to slowly chip away at it. First, I'm going to sort of look at it, just go, yes, it is in the fridge. Okay, I know it's there. Then later on, go, oh, I fancy it. Go to, I'm going to pick it up and go, oh, no, I can't. It's not mine. And then I'm going to go away. Then probably 5 minutes later, I'm going to go, no, I'm going to have a bit. I'm going to open it and go, no, I can't leave it. Then 20 minutes later, I'm going to come in and open one block, eat one block. Oh, she'll be fine with that. Then 2 minutes later, I'm just going to eat the entire thing. So, yeah, it's just, sorry, but it's torture to me.
It is it's almost, I don't want to say psychotic because it's not, but when we had that, I say any chocolate that I own, I just assume that it's ours, and not just mine. But my mum gave me 2 really nice chocolate bars. One had got pretzels and one had got pistachios in it, before we started travelling. And in Bali, you took out the pistachio one and you just kind of put it on the desk and sort of pushed it to one side, and then you turned it over and you just how you described it, perusing it, and then you put it back in the bag and you, oh, I don't know, and then just wait for me to say that it's okay. But to go back to the Toblerone, this specific chocolate, Scott has decided he will only have after an ultra. So he wants it to be like a ritual. But it was really hard to... Well, we couldn't find it in Japan, could we? So, but we've managed to get 3 Toblerones from the airport in Mumbai, which is very exciting. A regular one, I think there's a raisin one.
Yeah.
And then a salted caramel, maybe. Do you know what it is?
I believe it's an almond one.
Ah, right, okay. So he's got 3 now, and he's had his OG one.
Yeah, I've had the OG one. I had it today. So yeah, had that. It was a massive one as well, which is the first one we found in the airport. But on this podcast, I've just had the realization that I've got another 2 and I don't feel like that's correct for me to eat them. So I'm at a bit of a crossroads with that. And you can't eat them.
No, I can't eat them because they're not vegan. But what I would say is they are not original Toblerone. So you can only have an original Toblerone.
Baby, you can't give loopholes to a chocoholic, because if you start making me aware of loopholes, I'm going to find more.
Well, the thing is, I don't know what you're going to do with it then, because it's just going to melt in your case and then it's not going to be very good. So they are totally different. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that.
Maybe I'll just melt them and make a different chocolate bar with them.
Well, there you go. If you melt it, it's not. I think the joy of a Toblerone is having the little triangles, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll leave it out.
Yeah.
It's for them to melt, and then just eat it.
I'd heard that Toblerone was rebranding. Have I spoken to you about this? I saw something on LinkedIn. Like, I've heard that they're changing the name and the packaging and everything. But they haven't as of yet, so I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, I've only had this through you, but I'm guessing that's quite a long process, because even if they had right now, there's going to be so many of the old packaging out there, you're going to still get that for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have changed it right now. But you'll probably see it in tiers. Like, you might get it at your home shop, but then you might go to another country or to another city and be like, oh, it's the OG one. So yeah.
Don't know. Anyway, if you have seen a new Toblerone, email us at ballsdeeppodcast@gmail.com. Or is it Balls Deep the podcast?
No, it's got something in it like show.
Balls Deep podcast show. I'll find out what it is. I don't know.
We'll put it in the description.
Okay, yeah, good. Let's do that, because I'll not be able to find it because I'm like on a different Google account. But yeah, I'm so incredibly proud of you, baby, like for doing what you love, but absolutely smashing it. So I was like Scott's pit crew, and I drove around to a couple of different stops to refuel him and everything, and make sure he got all his nutrition and his electrolytes, etc. And it was so funny because like we were 2 of 3 non-Japanese people there, which is quite funny. It's like another no, it's Canadian. We thought he was British. He was Canadian. And so at every stop, they just would see me like rubbing Scott's legs down and putting Nanati's, our massage therapist, by the way, her like magic balm on it. It's kind of like tiger balm, like a deep heat balm. So they just see me like rubbing his legs down, like pouring food in his face, and like pulling his clothes off, not his clothes, but his like running gear off to restock and all that. Which was good fun. But it was, a beautiful island, and I was so proud of you. And it was just a joy to be a part of. So well done, baby.
Thank you, baby. And I feel bad I didn't mention that, because on the last episode, the half an hour that got cut out, I did do this roundup of the run, and I did mention Shelby, but I've gone and forgotten that, and I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Chocolate top priority. Chocolate, as I know my place.
Well, we'll get onto that with Shelby shortly, with Shelby's refined Maslow hierarchy. It's I just want to say thanks so much, baby. It has such an impact having a pit crew. I would really recommend if you're going to be running ultras, anything past 30 miles for sure, marathons you're fine. The aid stations will supply you. And the aid stations on ultras are great, but they don't always supply the exact nutrients you need, so if you're hitting ultras more, 30 miles plus, I would really recommend getting one. They can give you the right salts at the right time, the sugar, the different isotonics, the hydration tablets, you really need to start taking your nutrients seriously. It's something that I've not really done in my running. I've always just gone, I will just move my feet and get going and drink water. It's always worked out for me. But since I've broken into the ultra game, it doesn't just work. If you don't eat, you'll pass out. And I've learned that the hard way, where I haven't eaten and I've just fucking, nearly dropped, or you're just going to be sick. Because you go 8 hours without eating. You need to eat. So having someone there to, and you need to eat at specific times, because if you eat too early, if you eat too much, you can have a stitch. If you don't get the right amount of nutrients in, you're going to start getting cramp, blah, blah, blah. So having someone there, I plan it all out before, but then having someone there executing it for you, it makes it 1,000 times easier, because especially later in the race, I don't know what it is. It's like a confusion. You just calculating things and making decisions gets much harder. Like your brain is slower. I correlate it to like the Navy SEAL training when they one of the part of the Navy SEAL trainings, they put them, they pretty much drown the cadets. They put a weight on them, they drop them in the pool, and they just have to stay calm. And then when they bring them out, they have to then do basic maths questions, 9 times 2, 10 plus 10. They're not hard maths questions, but after you've just starved your head of oxygen, you will get them wrong, or you just be like, you just head can't, it's not quick, and that's what they're looking for. Can you snap straight back into it? And that's kind of like what your head is. It's just like, I know what I need, but I can't quite think what it is. So it's, but this has gone way longer than I anticipated, but hopefully you guys have found it interesting. If not, let us know and I won't ever talk about it again.
I think it's very interesting and it's something to be very proud of, so I'm really happy to have had it on the podcast. And I think that we should call it a brief intermission.
Brief intermission, because Shelby's phone's gonna die.
In 3, 2. We are back from a brief intermission, which we took because my phone was about to die and we're both very hungry. So we cooked some pasta, which, heads up, if you go to India, the pasta sauce is spicy. So, before Scott did his run on Suo Oshima, we were in Hiroshima. So, like Scott said, it's a really beautiful drive there. You cross this really long bridge and you see all the islands in the distance and also close-up islands. And it's just a very beautiful drive, very enjoyable drive, very easy drive. Driving in Japan in general is super easy because going from city to city, you will be on one road. It's not, okay, now you need to take this exit and go that way and this way. And that. It is basically one road everywhere. They kind of like just built the highway over everything. So nice, easy drive. But we planned to have 3 days. Was it 3 days or 3 nights? I feel like it was 3 nights maybe. Yeah, 3 nights in Hiroshima. And we both, I had this image in my head that it was going to be like this really small place that we knew that they got the history museum there about the atomic bomb. And I thought that was going to be basically it. I thought it was going to be like, because when we were looking at hotels, it was basically the only hotel was the one that we ended up booking, which also was super cheap. It's called Smile Hotel. It was comfortable, very nice. But I really was expecting it to be this tiny, middle of nowhere place with just a corner shop and whatever else. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. It was a really pretty happening place, wasn't it?
It was on the red light district.
We were in the red light district, yeah. But we had some great okonomiyaki, which is different to Osaka okonomiyaki. Can you remember how Hiroshima okonomiyaki differs from Osaka okonomiyaki, Scott?
The key difference I found was the Osaka was more potato based, but then again I did choose potato because you could choose different. So I did choose potato as one of my main ingredients. So that's probably why. But anyway, they were quite different. The flavors were pretty similar, but does this one have noodles in?
Yes.
Yeah, Hiroshima had noodles in. I hope Suo Oshima's not. It's not Suo Oshima. What's her name?
Shiho.
Shiho, we love you. But I preferred the Hiroshima. I think it was just easier. I love them both. They're both extremely filling. I brought this up because I went to the company I work for. They have an office in Japan, and I was chatting to the team there, and they said, what have you eaten? And I mentioned okonomiyaki, and they went, oh, okay, they're nice. We see that as like a snack. I was like, an effing snack.
Struggled to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, especially the one Osaka was. I mean, I don't think I did finish mine. That is not a snack. It's like 2 meals in one. It's filling, so it's not a snack. It's quite filling. But yeah, and the Hiroshima, it was super nice. I preferred that one. It was just a bit lighter on the stomach. But just heads up, okonomiyaki you are going to feel pretty, not just full, but what does it do? It clears you out, right?
Yeah, so supposedly, I think this is just the one that we went to because they use like gluten-free flour and stuff, maybe. But yeah, all over the walls, like I think we described it in a previous podcast, all the walls are covered in drawings and posters, and you can write stuff on the walls. And the one in Osaka, is like they were saying, this will give you a strong bowel movement. So it's supposed to like flush out your system. But yeah, to be honest, it had quite the opposite effect on me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it bunged us up. Well, for you, and then I don't know if I noticed a real difference, to be honest. But they both had cool experiences. I mean, we've explained Shiho's one in a past episode. But the Hiroshima one, the interesting piece was you cooked it yourself. It's partly cooked. It's more to keep it warm, actually. They've cooked it, and then you have a stove in the middle, when it's just, if you've been to like Korean barbecues, you know what I'm talking about. You have a flat sort of table that is heated, so it's a nice added experience.
Yeah, I really liked that, the fact that they sort of just brought it over and popped it on that hot plate in front of us, and that you could sort of move the bits around, keep it warm, and it was delightful. But we had lots of fun in Hiroshima. It was the least English-speaking place that we'd be. Not that, there's quite a lot of places in Japan where you will need Google Translate. And in Hiroshima, that will definitely be the case. And whether or not they can speak English, Japanese is insisted upon. Like a lot of bars won't let you in unless you can speak Japanese.
I don't want to say a lot of bars. I think we were just on a particular street. And I think the street we were on was, I don't know whether it was a popular street. We laugh, we say it's the red light district. I don't know if it had a lot of strip clubs, so it seemed that way. But anyway, it was just a couple bars that said, "Oh, sorry, it's only Japanese speaking," and they weren't being like rude or anything. Like they would, like very. It was like I didn't feel offended in any way, and especially with one of them, I totally understood. Like there's this weird. They're called maid cafes. They're hard to explain, but this is I would say the simplest way. Basically, you pay a set amount to a hot female or male. Yes, most of them are female, pretty much all of them. But we did spot one, I think, that had males in there as well. And in short, you pay a set amount, just like you do in a strip club, to get a dance. You can get half an hour, whatever. But they don't dance or anything. They basically just become your best friend for that time. It's totally PG. Maybe there's some not PG ones, but everyone that we heard about and went into was totally PG. It's just, yes, they're dressed in, some maid outfit to, attract you, but they basically just become your best mate. They gas you up. They play, they'll play games with you. They'll get you drinks, and they'll sit with you. Which is I just think a really interesting look into the culture of Japan, because that just wouldn't work in the UK, and I just don't think it would work in Europe. Like, people aren't going to pay to have a friend for an hour. They're going to see that as that's weird, and they would, it wouldn't work. But I had always heard of, in Japan, paying for people to, come on a date with you, and paying to be your girlfriend for the day. And, you hear these things and you think, all right, then, okay, maybe, it's happened once before. But I've now seen, this, and I have seen videos where, people have, bought these, paid for these women or men to, and again, it's from what I've seen, it's mostly PG. It is all PG that I've seen, and it just seems to be just a healthy transaction in Japan, that you can pay for my services and I'll be your best friend, or whether that's through the maid cafe, through going on a date. Whereas the UK version of that is it's a prostitute, and they it's non-PG. I don't know what that tells you about Japan. I don't know. I'm still sort of thinking about it. Maybe Japan are just a bit more. I don't know whether it means Japan are more respectable and just wouldn't even think to do that, and just want to sort of have. Maybe that is their prostitution. It's like, I mean, it's going to exist somewhere, but not as big as Europe. Maybe they're just too proper for it. Or maybe, I don't know what the words are, but maybe they really have a need for female attention. I don't know. Because you don't go to a strip club for female attention. You go there because you just want to have a fun experience. Like, you're not going there to make a friend. You're not going there to find a partner or be friends. You don't really, you'll have good crack, but you're all drunk and you're just going in there for the laugh, and you have a fun experience. Whereas I feel like this is different. So I don't know what it says. What do you think?
Well, I'm wondering, because Japan has such a intense work culture, like, working all hours, very long hours. We saw countless groups of business people out drinking very late at night. So it seems like the culture is that they will, like, that becomes their social network as well. Like, that is who they hang out with. So maybe it's like just a release from that, like out of the ordinary experience. Don't have to think about work. Don't have to think of anything. Like the maid cafes, they're going to do everything, literally everything for you. That's what a maid does. So to then, to have someone, you could maybe even ask them to make decisions for you, or like, which we could do with that person, to make decisions for us. So maybe it's connected to that in some way. But it was interesting, and I think that's also why some of those are also not open to tourists, because I feel like that would be really abused by people. Like, we saw that guy, was he British in Thailand? The guy that was drunk all over the place.
I don't know.
Okay, well, he was European anyway. It was either European or American, North American. It was not Asian. Let's put it like that. He was a Western tourist that was in Thailand, and he was yelling at someone to try and get in to the bar, wasn't he? Like, but he was clearly too drunk, and I think that's why they didn't want him in there. And that, like, I hate that that's like a stereotype of, like, drunk Brits abroad, and like just wild stag do's and hen do's and things like that. And so you can understand why some of these places particularly like that that's unusual aren't going to want Westerners who don't understand it coming in and ruining it.
Yeah, you can totally imagine, especially on a stag do or just a laddie group, they would fully expect a lot more than what's on offer. And yeah, that's what you're alluding to is they would just, yeah, it would go wrong. Yeah, and yeah, the only time it's so funny. We've been traveling for over 6 months now, and or just 5 months going on to 6, and the only unpleasant people we've met are people from Europe.
Yeah.
From where we're from. The locals have never been unpleasant. Yeah, okay, we may have faced some. You're gonna face some unpleasant people, sure. You meet and you're having so many interactions with so many people at so many stages. But as a whole, they've been, European, and it's been someone on holiday. It's not like European who lives there. We've met a bunch of European people who've lived there, and they've been, really chill, nice. But it's the people who are on holiday. Yeah, and there's two that stand out, and they were just both arseholes. Both drunk, both white males, and just being so loud. So they were both looking for it. Like they wanted someone to come up. They could not be making it more obvious. It was, and yeah, and it, yeah, it's hard. It's a shame that happens.
It really is. But all we can do is try and be ourselves when we are away and not forget our manners, or not that we ever would, but we need to represent Europe better than some other people are doing. But yeah, Hiroshima was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. We went to the museum, which was, I don't know what I was expecting from a World War II museum. I know you're not going to expect it to be all shits and gigs, but like I was not prepared for the level of emotion that it brought up in me being there, and it was very specific as well, of course, the atomic bomb, which America dropped on Hiroshima, and it starts off by showing you all stories of school children. Like there are diary accounts of the children, like of what they were doing leading up to when that happened, because a lot of children, it seemed like they were were they building bomb shelters during the war? They were doing something because obviously it was ongoing war.
Yeah, so they had, even though they were still going to school, even like really young kids, like 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, they were still helping out. So there were days where they would, help, on building sites and stuff to, clear the rubble and stuff. So this particular day where it happened was this particular school was going to a demolition site. I didn't quite understand what they were doing there. We read it thoroughly, and it's just, it kept talking about them going to this demolition site. Obviously, they're not going to be setting the explosives, and maybe just sort of clearing it out at the end, or maybe it was just a school trip. It wasn't quite clear. But anyway, yeah, when it's war, everyone's got to chip in, even when you're not of the age to be called up to war. But yeah, it was the whole museum specifically on the Hiroshima bomb, which was the first atomic bomb. And even crazier, Hiroshima wasn't the target. It was actually, I forget the specific target, but anyway, the reason it didn't go to the other place was because it was too cloudy that day. So they chose Hiroshima instead.
That is, learning that fact was really, it's a shocking thing anyway. But yeah, to learn that, so many people were affected by it. It was it 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Celsius?
I think it was 2,000.
Oh, was it? I got 3 to 4,000 in my head. But yeah, anyway, it was thousands of degrees Celsius at the hypocenter where it was. And like there were drawings, children's drawings from what they'd seen on their friends, that it affected people many like kilometers away. Like the destruction was unreal. But anyone that was, they have the step where someone was sat outside the bank and they were instantly vaporized. Like it left white marks on the step. That's like how intense it was. But then even like 2 kilometers away, people, the skin was peeling off them. It was raining black rain, which was just like nuclear matter. But people were so parched because they were so like dehydrated from and like the heat and everything, that they were trying to drink this black rain.
I mean, echo everything Shelby said. It took us back. I mean, I was very eager to go to this museum and said, we've got to go to Hiroshima because, it was the first ever atomic bomb that was used. We've got to learn about this. And hear, the real accounts, because, again, you don't know, history is, not always told. At the end of the day, there's always two sides of any argument. There's always two sides of, any battle. And it's good to, whether you agree with the other side or not with the information you've given, still you should give that side, the opportunity to say their side, to then get a balanced view. And we wanted to do that. And it was horrific. If it wasn't clear already, we now know how bad atomic bombs are. And it was gruesome at times. It was hard hitting, and way hard hitting than we either of us expected. Like Shelby said, the level of personalization was scary. It was like, there were so many, handwritten notes from like, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, just such young children, just talking about how they're feeling, the side effects later on. Go, my tummy hurts, I've now got these, black gums, I'm spitting blood, I'm scared. It's insane, and you just see this letter that they've written out, and then you see a picture of them, and then you see all their burnt clothes. It's fucked. It's so fucked. Even one of, I couldn't believe they had this out. So because everyone got so scalded, everyone just so, cremated on their body, they even had a piece of, I can't remember the name of it, but basically when your skin gets burnt that bad, it basically creates like this callus. It doesn't look like callus. It's like sort of holy skin. It's weird. But anyway, it likes calluses, and it's really, it'll ooze, liquid constantly, and it basically just doesn't repair. Your skin just doesn't repair. It becomes this really weird callus, horrible looking lump wherever you got burnt. Anyway, you'd have to have operations to get that off in order to actually be able to heal. Otherwise, you just constantly bled, and you constantly you would just stick to your bed if you slept in it. It was horrible. And they actually had a part of this flesh that actually preserved in like this liquid in the museum that you could see, that was taken off someone's body. And then right above it, you would have a picture of a child just and these were real photos. I was, again, really taken aback to, they did... It was as bad as the stuff you'd find on like a fucked up website like LiveLeak. Don't search that. Those messed up websites you look at when you're a teenager. It was as far as that. There were clear as day pictures of kids, with their faces, their eyes burnt out. There was just so much.
I think a lot of the photographs were taken by American soldiers as well, which just makes it like extra fucked up. Like they were down there taking photos of what they'd done.
Yeah, that was kind of the weird side to it. Yeah, it's totally true that. Yeah, that was a really weird piece to it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about because it is, yeah, um, yeah, it's rough, and it stayed with me. I can't unsee the things that I've seen in there. Um, yeah, I can't really speak much more on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've I think we've made it quite clear how we feel about it. Um, but if you are in Hiroshima, I absolutely go and do that museum because it's incredible. To lighten it up a little bit, because I mean that was pretty heavy, and we are getting very close to the end of this podcast. I think we've got about 4 minutes left. Um, there was so tipping is not a thing in Japan. It's actually offensive to tip someone in Japan because what you're doing is you are insinuating that the service that they provided was only done in exchange for a tip, when they really pride themselves on providing a high level of service. So to tip them is to imply that they've only done it because of that, not because they wanted to, and they wanted to give you that good service, which is the total opposite of American tipping. As 100% of our audience are American, apparently, so you will know, guys. Tipping is different. Tipping is not the same as it is in America anywhere else we've been. It is, for anyone who doesn't know, you need to tip like 20% on every meal at least.
Even if you're getting a drink, so if you're going to a bar and you're just ordering 1 pint, you're supposed to tip at least $1. So, in some bars you kind of have to do $2. The best rule is just tip $1 every drink. And if you don't do that, it's going to become a problem for you. It's not like, oh, you can do this if you want to. No, you have to do it to be part of to be in that bar. They won't say it, but you'll learn about it quickly because you'll start to not get served. They'll just give you evils throughout the night, and they just if you don't tip, they just won't serve you. So I'm sorry, America, but it's a dumb thing you guys do.
It is really dumb. Like, even to the point where when I was buying a t-shirt at Aftershock, the guy, I was like, can I have that t-shirt? He went and got it. It took about 10 seconds. He then spun the payment thing, like the iPad, around on the screen saying, would you like to leave a tip? And the minimum tip was like going to be $5. I'm like, no, I'm not giving you $5 for picking up a t-shirt and passing it to me. Like, what are you on about? I was like, no tip, thank you. But yeah, so in the toilet, I overheard this conversation with a Japanese cleaner who's working in the museum, and an American woman, and the Japanese lady said to the American lady that in English, "Oh, your Japanese is very good," and so the woman was saying, "Oh, thank you very much." And then next thing I know, the cleaner is chasing the woman out of the toilet, like literally, and the woman is running away, like hee, like giggling to herself because she'd put money in this woman's hand as a tip for what, for having a conversation with her, like that. This is what America is, isn't it? It's like tipping for everything, or maybe sometimes they tip cleaners in toilets also. I know that, but like the woman was chasing her to give her this money back. I'm like, have you not insulted Japan enough? Like, come on, behave. Yeah, that's the one thing that made me laugh in that museum. Nothing else will make you laugh, except finding an American trying to tip a Japanese person in a museum about America attacking Japan. It's just, you couldn't write it.
Yeah, you really couldn't write it. The fact that it happened in the museum is just, yeah, it's crazy. But I know the woman wouldn't have intent. We know.
No, of course not.
Yeah, yeah, we know she just wouldn't have known. But yeah, it's just quite comical. But yeah, it's always worth just do a bit of reading on any country you go to before you go there, just to try and learn some of the basic culture. But again, you're not going to get them all. There's still things that we slip up on. But, at the end of the day, if you have basic manners and some basic common sense, you're not going to get that wrong. Yeah. Well, I think I don't know where we must be close to the hour. It's crazy because, we have so many bullet points we want to discuss. And we always think, God, we've only got 6 bullet points. Like, well, how is that going to be enough? We've gone through 2 bullet points. Yeah, we had load more. I'm questioning whether we just go into our new segment and finish it.
Yes, I think let's do that. I would say let's go into our new segment, which is we've decided to start to give like little summaries of places that we've been, and then also first impressions of new places. So this podcast and the second half of the last podcast are recorded in Mumbai, India, because that is where we are right now. So what we'll do is we'll say, go ahead.
Let's just do Japan and India, because
Yes. So originally this episode we were going to summarize everywhere we've been, but this episode we are going to say our favorite and least favorite thing about Japan and first impression of India. So Scott, would you like to go first with those 3 items, or would you like me to go first? Because I'm locked and loaded. Okay, so my favorite thing about Japan, in fact, let's do favorite, least favorite, and then Okay, so my favorite thing about Japan is the ease of everything and how convenient everything is. For example, I mean, just first of all, everything is just thought about. Like, you don't have sugar packets; they have sugar syrup in little containers like that you normally get milk in on an aeroplane. Because if you've got a cold drink, sugar wouldn't dissolve, and the syrup, and maybe even a hot drink, it wouldn't dissolve instantly. So having that sugar syrup just makes it that little bit easier for you, which is nice. So there's that. The toilets, I mean, we could do a whole episode on Japanese toilets, but from heated seats to it playing music while you piss to it flushing itself and opening and closing the lid itself in many cases. Just fantastic. And my favourite thing about the toilets in some places in Japan, particularly theme parks, shopping malls, or anywhere that's got a long row of cubicles that it wouldn't be easy to see which ones were free, they have a little flag, I guess, on the outside of each door, so that when the door is open, meaning there's no one inside it, this flag shoots out. So you can look down the corridor and you can see flags for which ones are available. And then when you go in and shut the door, the flag goes shut against the wall so that it's clear that someone's in there. So it's just fun. So from the bottom of the queue, rather than being like, oh, someone in, I'll just do a quick little walk up and down this aisle, you can just see it. So it's just those little extra touches that they put on absolutely everything to just make it convenient. And one more thing on that, the train to the airport, once it arrived in the station that we were getting on, because obviously it's linear, it's just going from one place to the A to B and back. The seats, so they made, once everyone got off the train, they cleaned it, but then the seats turned 180 degrees so that everyone is always facing forward on the train. No one has to face backwards. So when it gets to the airport, the seats will just spin right back around for the people that are leaving the airport. And it's those little touches, Scott, that I love about Japan. What about you?
Well, I'm going to have to be a bit boring and concur with you. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's almost perfect to a sickening degree. It is like Japan doesn't really, it's too perfect almost. Like it is just so clean. It's just so organized. Like everything just makes sense. It's just everything's just correct. I've never been in such a well managed country in regards to just how everything is working. Everything Shelby said. Shelby had way more examples than I do. An interesting example is in the male toilets they have baby changing facilities, and also in the cubicles they have at least one cubicle in the male toilet will have a baby seat attached to the wall, So if you had your kid, you can just put them in the seat whilst you did your thing in the cubicle. Like, they'd be in the cubicle with you. I've never seen that before. And notoriously, any baby facilities are just always in the females' toilets. There's always like umbrellas just in shops you can just take. Shops will just have umbrellas just there where you can, if it's raining, you can just sort of walk out with it. Same with hotels and everywhere. Even the sauce packets, it's so small, but God, it helps. Like with us, you have sachets and you have to try rip it open, and sometimes it doesn't rip open. You have to get your teeth in it, it shoots everywhere. Their sauce packets, it's hard to explain how it works, but anyway, it's just a little plastic container, and you fold it in half and press it, and it just all comes out perfectly. You don't have to twist anything, you don't have to bite anything. It just comes out really nicely. It pierces it itself, and you just press it down, basically. The train system, is efficient, and, just from just really small things to having, loads of arrows on the floor. This is where people should be getting on. This is where people are getting out. So what they do is they have sort of lanes they've created on the floor to say this is where you should be queuing up to get onto this train at this door. And what it does is it parts everyone away from the door, so then everyone coming out comes out between you all, and then you go into the side, so you never just clash with each other. Whereas at home, it's just everyone just walks into each other, and that is one of my biggest pet hates, is people that don't wait for other people to come off the train. So yeah, those on their own don't seem like a lot, but when you have them all together, and plus the 1,001 things that we haven't mentioned, it just goes, wow, this place is in the future. And it's interesting when I say that line, because people have always said that to me about Japan, but I think I maybe had a different vision of that, flying cars, and all the rest of it. But I think, so it's not that, it's not like they're going to have, well, they do have robot cafes, but it's not like every restaurant's run by robots and that, everything's automatic, and, it's that far in the future, that'd be like hundreds of years in the future. Or maybe not, we'll see what Elon does. But it is in the future, but 10 years probably sounds about right. It's smaller than what you probably visualize, but it makes a bigger difference than you realize. But I would say you'd have to experience it, because I think if you hear all these things, you just won't think much about them. But when all these things are happening all at once, it's like, oh my God, I want to live here. Like, it just makes sense. So yeah, I concur.
Okay. Well, on to least favourite things about Japan. My very least favourite thing about Japan, and it's 2 words, Scott. Can you guess what those 2 words are? Any ideas what they might be? No? Okay.
I think we're going to say the same thing, but I don't know what the 2 words are.
Trees.
No, that's not what I... Okay, so we're going to say different things, but that is bad.
So... Right. Everywhere, not everywhere, but a lot of places in Japan, you'll be walking around and you'll just... there are some beautiful smells in Japan. It's very clean. The street's very clean. There's flowers everywhere. What are those flowers? Can you remember what they're called? I think it began with A. There's like a lot of beautiful smelling flowers in Japan. But every so often you'll be walking and you'll get hit with a curtain. That's how I describe it. A curtain of a smell of semen. And like I was really taken aback by it, and I didn't realise that maybe it's azaleas. I think it's azaleas. I didn't realise that I didn't know what it was. I just knew that it smelled of cum, and then Scott was like, oh yeah, it's the plants. And we learned that it's a particular tree.
Oh, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's yeah, and it's very distinctive, you know. Um, and if you don't know the smell of semen, then when you get a chance to have semen in front of you, then put it to your nose. Yeah, it's an odd smell.
I wouldn't say it's a particularly bad smell. It's just that knowing that it smells like cum, and knowing that, you know, I mean, obviously, I enjoy your cum. But if it was someone else's, I wouldn't want to smell it. You know what I mean? It's that kind. It's kind of like when someone farts. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to smell someone else's fart, but you're not really bothered about your own. So it's not. Well, no, that's a bad comparison because farts stink and cum doesn't smell up. I think cum smells a bit like a cross between mushrooms and laundry. That's how I describe it.
Interesting. I've never really been able to pinpoint how to describe it, but that, and I can't.
Towels and mushrooms.
Oh, it's making me feel a bit sick. I can't think of how that would smell, but for some reason that's making me feel a bit sick, so I'm not going to think about it. Yeah, wow, I did. Wow, we are very open on this podcast, and that's important for us to be open, and we're happy to do it. And we'll get even more open as we go. But I think that was a pretty strong line. Shelby loves the smell of my cum. That was wow. Yeah, what was my worst? It was the restaurants closing early. That did my tits in. Yeah, restaurants, and we, you know, when you're traveling about, you know, you're working through the day, you're doing tourist stuff in the night and on the weekends, you know, some days getting food in is a chore, but you need to do it. And, you know, a lot of the time we will end up eating late, and if it's what it is in Japan is twofold. One, restaurants close, most will close like at 10, so that's annoying no matter what day, so that's already annoying. And what makes it even harder is that every restaurant, and anywhere by the way, so what but especially everywhere closes on the dot. Now that might sound normal, but listen to me for a moment. So if a restaurant closes at 10 p.m, they will stop serving at 9 p.m. Some will stop serving at 8:30 p.m. So if you get in there at 9 p.m, they will not serve you food. Even though they're open for another hour, they will not serve you food. So that's really important to remember. And that wasn't like one or two. Every restaurant was like that. So just be wary of that. If you think, oh, we're going to be fine, it's still got an hour till it closes, they're not going to serve you. You know, if you're adamant to go there, just give them a call. Yeah. But we found it annoying because we're just not used to it. But yeah, that was tough because, you know, a lot of the times we'd be like, oh, okay, it's 9 p.m. Okay, let's go find somewhere. It's 9:15. They're not going to serve us. And when we didn't realize that, you know, we kept going to restaurants and we just never get served. You know, there's people around eating. There's people around getting food served to them because they've ordered before 9. But you ain't going to get food.
Yeah, and it's the same in shops. Like when we went to buy Pokemon cards, they let us know that they were closing, and we were the last ones in the shop, and we paid. I think it was like maybe 5 past when we left. Like say it was 8 o'clock. The shop. We were no later than 5 minutes past closing and paying. But by the time we exited the shop, everything was shut down. Security was on the door. Like there was not a soul in that entire 6th floor building. Like we were the only people left in there 5 minutes after, and there were people about literally right up until closing. Like it was busy until 8 o'clock, but the second it shut, it was ghost town. So yeah, quite amusing, but also quite annoying. Okay, on to the final thing, which is first impressions of India. Would you like to go first on this one, darling? So I've gone first on the others, or okay, I shall go ahead. Just a first observation, I would say, of India is nobody has their phone on silent. That was my first thing that I know. Am I wrong?
I can't. I can't say I've clocked that one.
Have you what? On the plane, there was the minute we landed, it's like bing, 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 bing on the phones, like brum, 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 brum from all directions. That's my impression of a phone, by the way. Like, yeah, basically there were phone sounds everywhere, like all the time. Like, I haven't had my phone off silent since 2002. Like, everyone's phone was on loud.
Sure. Yeah, you've not had it on silent since 2002, but Shelby every day, um, will play something out loud which she doesn't mean to play out loud.
Because my phone's on silent and I'm not expecting it to play out loud.
The amount, like, it's just like, you know, so basically you can imagine it, you know, if you're on a train and you want to watch a video, maybe you want to put it on quiet, but then you go to play it and it's on full blast and you go, oh, and you're like, you have such a panic because everyone can hear the video you're watching. It's fine, but it's as if, you know, you've just played porn out loud. It is all, I totally feel that panic, but you will do it sometimes like 2 or 3 times in the same day and you all panic and be like, oh, and I'll just like be there just chuckling to myself because I'm like, but you do it like so much.
The reason for that is I don't think I understand the difference between my phone being on silent and the media being on silent, which they're 2 different volume controls on the, you know, on the screen. It shows up as 2 separate bars. But yeah, it always shocks me. And then what I'll do is I'll try and swipe it to the next video to get it off. But then I realise that's also a video. And then so just the panic continues. But yeah, I've noticed that in India there's been a lot of phones ringing out loud, which I've just, like, I'm just not used to it. So that's my first observation. And I won't, you know, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the first thing that I've noticed. Oh, yeah, that's the first thing that I've noticed.
For me, it's the smells. Yeah, it's like it's what you imagine. It's all the spices. It's the perfume. It's like it smells like the India I've always, I guess, not been told about. It's like in Disney, if you go to the different countries in Epcot, they'll produce the different smells. You know, if you go through India, if you go on Soarin', a really cool ride in Disney, in Epcot, and in a couple of the other ones, you soar through the world, and again that a ride will project the smells as part of to make it immersive. And India, it's all that mixture of the spices, the perfume, and it smells just like it. And I was like, no way. Like, when I started to smell, I was like, really? Like, maybe it's just the plane, you know, maybe they do that on the plane. And then I went to the airport, it smelled like it, and it's nice, but I'm just like, how have they done this? Like, it's like who's bumping this out? But yeah, I mean, you must have noticed it as well, but yeah, have you noticed it?
I can't say that I have massively, like, yeah, I can't say that I have, but I love the smell of spices and all that, so I'm sure now that you've mentioned it, I'll keep an eye out for it, or keep a nose out for it.
It's very pleasant, might I add.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's few things that can make me go, oh, that smells nice, than a curry. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are, you can't walk past like an Indian restaurant without being really interested in whatever it is they're cooking. So yeah, what's one of the things I'm very excited about is to have lots of curries this month.
Shelby has said she's going to have 30 days of curries. And on the plane ride here, we had 3 meals, 2 on the first one, we had 2 curries. We had 1 on the first one on the second one. And then we were still hungry, so we had 1 in the airport. So we started off, as we mean to go on, we had, you know, breakfast, lunch and dinner curries. And Shelby has promised that she's going to keep to that for 30 days. So
I have not.
You did?
I may have. But, well, I've not bought any curry now. Like, we've bought stuff to cook and I've not got any.
That's my food.
That's okay. Well, yeah, I'll order a curry tomorrow.
Every breakfast, lunch and dinner curry.
Well, I could definitely have every dinner curry.
See, I couldn't do that. I can't do the same cuisine. Or I like, and you have said this, like Shelby, when she's hungry, doesn't matter what it is. If it's vegan, happy days, as long as it's not a salad. Whereas I am
fatty bum.
You just don't like salad, do you?
Look, I love salad if it's a good salad and I've made it. What I don't like is soggy, pathetic bits of lettuce and a slice of tomato and cucumber that most restaurants will call a salad, and then put like watered down oil on it as a dressing. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, there can be some pretty poor salads out there. I tell you what, America do good salads. Yeah, America do good salads. What were we talking about?
You said that Shelby will eat anything, you won't eat anything.
Yeah, I'm a bit more particular. Like I don't every day know what I want for dinner, but I sometimes it's just a feeling. Like sometimes I just be like, yeah, I want Italian, or no, I want, Thai. But I can't just eat anything. Even if I'm hungry, I'm like, no, I really don't want a pizza. I really don't want. I don't care how hungry. I don't want a pizza. Like I want this right now, pasta. So I'm a bit more particular, but Shelby's just like, give me vegan food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not to say, of course, like when I'm at home, I have my preferences and I will try and mix it up. But yeah, when it comes to if I was in a situation where all I could have every day was a curry, I'd be fine with that. Yes, so that is our we've discussed our best and worst of Japan and our first impressions, yes, of India. Thank you. Well, this episode is at least half hour too long, so I'm going to have to do some serious editing. But we'd like to thank you for taking a break from your day to get balls deep with us. Until next time, remember,
stay ballsy,
dive deep,
and don't forget your snorkel.
Balls deep.